Hey guys, it's Venom coming at you with another build video. Today we're going to be talking about a 1-bar heavy attack build for the Sorcerer for the Gold Road update. We're going to start first with the gear sets. We have Sergeant, Lightning Staff, Sharpened Trait, Power Glyph. The 2-piece gives max health, 3-piece health recovery, 4-piece weapon and spell damage. 5-piece, when you deal damage with a heavy attack, you gain a stack of Sergeant's Focus for 5 seconds, increasing the damage of your heavy attacks by 645 per stack. This can occur once every second, stacks up to 4 times. For the 1-piece, we have a light slime crawl. Everything is divines, max magic enchantments on the gear. The slime crawl adds 771 critical chance. We have Sergeant for the chest, it's your heavy. The other set is from the new Trial-Lucent Citadel. This is called Mora Scribes. This is the perfected version of it. The 2-piece gives critical chance, 3-piece minor slayer at all times, increasing the damage done to dungeon, trial, and arena monsters by 5%. 4-piece weapon and spell damage. The perfected version gives another 657 critical chance. Increase your critical chance by 128 for every major buff you have on you, up to 1536 critical chance. It also increases your critical damage done by 1% for every minor buff active on you, up to 12. So we have that again for the waist, the hands, the legs, and the feet. Sergeant for the necklace, the ring, everything is bloodthirsty, weapon and spell damage, enchantments. And then we have Oaken Soul. While equipped, you're unable to swap between your primary and backup weapon sets. You gain Minor Berserk, Minor Courage, Major Brutality, Major Sorcery, Major Prophecy, Major Savagery, Minor Force, Minor Protection, Major Resolve, Minor Mending, Minor Fortitude, Minor Intellect, Minor Endurance, Minor Heroism, Minor Slayer, Minor Aegis, and Empower. So as you can see on the Mora Scribes, this set is basically perfect for running with Oaken Soul. So for every major buff you have active on you, you increase your critical chance up to 1536. For every minor buff, you increase your critical damage up to 12%. So as you see, Oaken Soul gives you a lot of major and minor buffs. So this is going to push your guy up. This is your stat sheet base with nothing buffed. You're looking at 34,848 max magicka, 11 recovery, 2694 health recovery, 14,273 max stam, over 26,000 max health. Our pet is not out right now, so that's going to be a little bit lower. Spell damage is 4785, critical chance 52.1, penetration is 9,611, resistances is 21 and almost 17 for spell and physical. We have all 64 points into max magicka. I'm running just blue food, max health, max magicka. These buffs down there are mostly covered through the Oaken Soul. And we have on the Thief Mundus Stone. This increases your critical strike rating by 1982. Let's pull out our pet. We use our pot and proc our skill. And now our stats are a little bit higher. We're looking at 59.3 crit, 26,000 and 22,000 spell and physical resistances. It's pretty decent. Let's take a look at some of our skills. Whenever you're running a pet, Regenerative Ward is better. If you don't run a pet, then Hardened Ward is better. So the Regenerative Ward, because we have on a Twilight with this build, conjure globes of Daedric energy for protection, granting a damage shield for you and your pets that absorb 11,879 damage for 10 seconds. It heals you. 3,832 health, grants minor intellect, minor endurance to you and nearby allies for 10 seconds. Scales off the higher of your max health or max magicka, and the shield is capped at 55% of your max health. The next skill is from the Destruction Staff skill line, the Unstable Wall of Storms. Slam down your staff to create an unstable barrier in front of you, dealing 1,228 shock damage to enemies in the target area every 1 second, and setting concussed enemies off balance for 7 seconds. When the effect ends, the barrier explodes, dealing 5,802 shock damage. This has an 18 by 8 meter radius. It lasts 10 seconds, and you can trigger the explosion early just by reapplying the skill. So you can run this as an AoE spammable, like just multiple targets. The next skill is Critical Surge. Invoke Meridia's name to gain major brutality, major sorcery, increasing your weapon and spell damage by 20% for 33 seconds. We already have this covered through your Oaken Soul, but the main reason we are running this skill is because of the healing that it grants you. While active, dealing critical damage heals you for 3,630 health every once a second. Your next skill, Crystal Weapon. Encase your weapon in dark crystals for 6 seconds, causing your next 2 light or heavy attacks to deal additional damage and reduce the target's armor by 1,000 for 5 seconds. The first hit deals 10,114 physical damage, and the second deals 4,044 physical damage. After casting your next non-ultimate ability used within 3 seconds, costs 10% less. This is your Twilight, this is your Burst Heal. It also can heal up to 2 other additional targets, including itself. Twilight will zap a target, dealing 1,684 shock damage, and its kick also deals the same damage. You can activate the Twilight's Matriarch special ability for 3,810 magicka, causing it to heal 2 friendly targets for 14,981 health and itself for about half the value. The cool thing about the Twilight is it's got a smart heal built into it. You don't have to necessarily be looking at your target. It's not a cone heal or anything like that. As long as their bar is a bright color, then it will be able to heal that target, and it will determine who needs the heal in your group. So it will heal the 2 people that needs to heal the most. For the ultimate, this is also from the Destruction Staff skill line, Thunderous Rage. Create a cataclysmic storm at the target location that builds after 2 seconds, then lays waste to all enemies in the area, dealing 9,814 shock damage every 1 second for 7 seconds. The ability lasts 2 seconds longer when you're using a Lightning Staff. Some of the other useful skills that we can run from your class, just make sure too that you have all of your passives and stuff slotted. Suppression Field is an okay ultimate. It's really good in PvP. It's sometimes useful in PvE in certain situations if you're needing to suppress and shut down some ads. Crystal Weapon, I think, is perfect for this build. The way you want to run your build is when you're doing your heavy attack and you hit your wall, as you start to do your channel with your staff, you want to hit Crystal Weapon, and that will fire the first round of Crystal Weapon. And as you're still channeling your heavy attack, reapply your wall. It will cause it to cast and explode early, and then the second tick, or the second heavy attack from your staff, will trigger the second half of Crystal Weapon, and then you're right back into your wall. It's literally just a 2-button rotation between your wall and your Crystal Weapon. Vibrant Shroud is another good choice for your heal. I use this mostly in PvP because I'm really tired of the Twilight dying in PvP, or alerting people when you're trying to go invisible and it just won't. But this is also a very good choice for a heal. It's also a dark magic ability which would trigger your passive down here underneath exploitation. So we'll take a look real quick at Vibrant Shroud. This will call forth Daedric Shroud from the colored rooms to heal you and your allies and enfeeble foes in front of you. You and allies in the area are healed for 11,234 health and receive minor vitality, increasing your healing received and damage shield strength by 6% for 10 seconds. Enemies are afflicted with major maim, reducing their damage done by 10% for 10 seconds. If I am running a trial and I do have a heal on my guy, I will run Vibrant Shroud and not the Twilight, because this can heal multiple people, and usually everybody is condensed into a little group anyway, which is, good if you're wanting to help. You should be helping heal people, but guys, you know how it is. Sometimes you have to help people, or you might need that heal yourself, but it's also going to give you your dark magic passive being triggered as well. Dark Deal and Daedric Tomb are also good skills to run. This Right here, Bargain with Darkness to restore 8,800 health and stamina, 3,600 instantly, in addition to 2,400 stamina over 10 seconds. The exchange also grants you Minor Berserk, Minor Force for 10 seconds, increasing your damage done 5% and critical damage done 10%. Daedric Tomb is your mines. If you want to use these, they're also a good choice. I don't always use these unless the target is really large, but this is also a good choice to run if it's a large stationary target. Surprise your foes by placing 3 volatile Daedric mines at the target location, which arm instantly and last 15 seconds. When a mine is triggered, it explodes, deals 12,524 magic damage, and immobilizes an enemy for 2 seconds. Enemies can only be triggered by your mines once every 2 seconds. Underneath Daedric Summoning, the Greater Storm Atronach is a very good ultimate to run as well. But really, to benefit the most out of this, you want to make sure that you're in a group with somebody so that they can synergize the Atronach. So you summon an immobile Storm Atronach at the target location. Man, I wish they would make him mobile, don't you? He just stands there, but wow, it'd be cool to watch him chase some people in Cyrodiil. So you summon an immobile Storm Atronach at the target location. Its arrival does 10,879 shock damage and stuns enemies for 3 seconds. The Atronach zap the closest enemy, dealing 7,304 shock damage every 1 second. An ally near the Atronach can activate the charged lightning synergy, granting nearby allies major berserk for 10 seconds, increasing their damage. The volatile familiar is also another good choice you could run on your guy if you want to run a pet. Daedric Prey is also another good skill you can run to help boost the damage of your pets. Bound Aegis is also another good skill. If you don't need a ward on your guy, then I would recommend equipping Bound Aegis. While slotted on either bar, protect yourself with the power of Oblivion, creating a suit of Daedric Mail that increases your block mitigation 40% for 5 seconds. While slotted on either bar, your max magic is increased by 8%, and you gain major resolve and minor protection, increasing your physical and spell resistance by 2,974 and reducing your damage taken by 5%. Again, if you don't need a ward on your guy, I think this is also a really good choice to put on there. Underneath Storm Calling, you've got some other good choices down here as well. Mage's Wrath is a good execute ability. Hurricane is a good way if you want to run around a little bit quicker. You can also deal some damage as an AoE, with the wind dealing up to 2,091 physical damage every 2 seconds. For 20 seconds, the wind grows in damage and size, increasing up to 120% more damage and up to 9 meters in size. It will give you minor expedition, increasing your physical and spell resistance by 5,948, movement speed by 15%. Lightning Flood is a good skill as well. This is just an AoE tick that goes once every second for 10 seconds. An ally can synergize it, deals 13,055 shock damage to all enemies around it. Streak is a really good skill, mostly for PvP. I don't see a whole lot of people running it in PvE, but there is some situations that this skill can be very useful in PvE. Like getting through fire lines and ghost walls, stuff of that nature. Underneath the Destruction Staff, you got some good skills down through here as well. You can slot occasionally. Crushing Shock is one of those. This is a good spammable skill. Focus all the elemental energies with your staff and blast an enemy for flame, frost, and shock damage. Enemies hit while casting are interrupted, set off balance, and stunned for 3 seconds. Elemental Susceptibility, this is a free cast ability. It's got a 35-meter range, lasts 30 seconds. It puts major breach on the target, reducing their physical and spell resistance by 5,948. Every 7.5 seconds, the enemy is afflicted with burning, chilled, and concussion status effects. You can run this skill also as a spammable just by reapplying it. It will immediately re-trigger the damage. You don't have to wait the 7.5 seconds. Again, just make sure you grab all of your passives. We have all the passives for light armor, all the passives for the heavy. We don't have any medium equipped, so it doesn't matter if you have those or not. We have the Undaunted passives. I am a high elf on this build. Whatever race you choose, just make sure that you grab your passes for it. But for the high elf, for spell recharge, when you activate an ability, you restore 625 magicka or stamina based on whichever is lowest. This effect can occur once every 6 seconds. When you're using an ability with a channel or cast time, you take 5% less damage. Increase your max magicka by 2,000 for the Sarbane's Boon. An elemental talent gives 258 weapon and spell damage. Let's take a look at our champion tree. For the blue tree, we have Fighting Finesse. This is going to increase your critical damage and critical healing by 8%. Weapon Expert is 20% more damage done with your light and heavy attacks. Wrathful Strikes grants 205 weapon and spell damage. And Untamed Aggression gives an additional 150 spell damage. Depending on the content of what you're trying to do, whether it's parsing or in a dungeon or in a trial, you might want to consider running Backstabber. You might want to consider running Exploiter. It really depends on your group, but for just general overall play, I find that this combination here works best. The red tree, we have Strategic Reserve. You gain 30 health recovery for every 10 ultimate you have. Slippery, whenever you are affected by a disabling effect, you automatically break free for no cost. After using this effect, you become winded and cannot trigger the effect or others like it for 21 seconds. I do swap Slippery out depending on the content that I'm doing. Big warning, if you go into Skullcaller Peak, you want to make sure that you turn Slippery off because you have to freeze your guy in that dungeon and it will automatically break you free and you will die. So make sure you swap this one out if you run Skullcaller, or if you don't need the extra break free, you can put something else on. Fortified grants 1731 armor. Balanced Vitality is 1400 health. For the green tree, we have Treasure Hunter. This is going to increase the quality of the items you find in treasure chest. This doesn't necessarily mean the blue, the purple, green, whichever you're picking up. If you're going through and you're trying to find pieces to collect sets and you're going through your dungeons, Treasure Hunter will also affect the drop rate of the sets that you are looking for. So if you're going through your dungeons and stuff, you want to make sure you have Treasure Hunter. Rationer is going to increase the duration of your drink and food buffs by 30 minutes. Meticulous Disassembly, this is going to give you back more materials whenever you break down stuff. Steed's Blessing is going to increase your out-of-combat movement speed by a total of 20%. Another set that I wanted to mention to you guys, if you might have noticed, this set looks very familiar on the 2, 3, 4, and first part of the 5-piece. Our old set that we used to run is Infallible Aether for the heavy attack, and this is still a fantastic set to run in solo and 4-man content. Yes, there are other options out there available for heavy attack builds, like Stormmaster, for example, which is a medium armor set, or Noble Duelist, or a whole litany of other types of sets that you can run. But what I have found that works the best has been Infallible Aether for years. This has been the go-to set. There is very minimal difference between Infallible Aether and Morris. If you notice, the 2, 3, and 4 and first part of the 5-piece is the same. Crit, weapon and spell damage, minor slayer. Crit, weapon and spell damage, and minor slayer. The only difference is the 5-piece. With Infal, your heavy attacks deal an additional 900 damage to monsters. Enemies you damage with fully charged heavy attacks are afflicted with minor vulnerability for 10 seconds, increasing their damage taken by 5%. So in my testing, and I've done quite a bit of testing, I average anywhere from 1 to 3,000 more DPS solo running Morris over Infal. They are almost the same damage. But Morris way outperforms in foul when you get more buffs coming from other players in your group. So it can go up even higher. And that's why Morris right now is your best set to run for a heavy attack build. It was Sergeants. Now, if you are going into trial content and you want to run Morris and people are worried about your penetration being too high, we are looking at 9,611 pin. You want to check and make sure what your guys are running. If they're running Crimson and Tremor Scale and stuff like that, that's going to give all the extra penetration. You might want to make an adjustment on this. If you still want to run Morris, you can always change out the trait of your weapon. You can put on a precise trait instead of a sharpen. You will take your physical spell penetration down, and it will just give you more. Depending on your group, I mean, you may just swap out Morris entirely and go with Stormmaster. That is an excellent set, too, to run in trials. And on the 21 mil target skeleton, the things that are giving you these extra penetration and stuff, you may want to make an adjustment. But what I'm specifically saying Morris is really good for is solo and 4-man content. And it's good for some trials depending on how your group is set up. If your group is set up and they're running other sets that is not providing the penetration that you need, then Morris is really good for your trial. But if they are providing the penetration and you're going to overpin running a light armor set, that's when you want to switch this set out and go with Stormmasters or some other set. Alright guys, I think that pretty much covers it. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a like, follow, and subscribe, and I'll try to give it back to you all with another video. Later.